Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc., the channel all about bringing you as much nerdy content as possible. Today for you, we're back in Dragon Village M, and it has been almost a year since my last video of this, but I thought you guys deserved a brand new clan dungeon tips and tricks video. Let's get into this. As always, if you're new to the channel, please like the video and subscribe. If you enjoy Dragon Village M, or you just really like the content that I produce, you like the guides and everything like that, then subscribe to the channel. I put out videos every single week for this game, and I'm always trying to make newer and better content for it. As well as if you really enjoy what I do and you want to support me, because I'm trying my best to support the community on my own here, and give you guys as much videos as possible, as many videos as possible, with the best advice I can give you. It's through the supporters of my Patreon. I'll have a link in the description below for it. But those guys, those are the reason I'm able to make these videos for you guys every single week. So, and if you would like to be a supporter, I would greatly appreciate it. But let's get into this. So, Clan Dungeon is one of those... probably one of the biggest hurdles in the game for a lot of people. There's no cap. I mean, I guess there is a cap. It's like 100 or 150, like the level that you can unlock through with the whole clan together. But I don't think there's been a group that's broken 100 yet. So it's a challenge. It is a challenge. And what do you need? What's the ideal goal, I guess, is the better way to look at it. For good, solid damage. In this game right now, what was considered, on average, I want to say average, what is considered, good damage? I'm going to say, I think it's about 50 million per run. If you're doing about 50 million per run, then you're probably doing right about what a clan really wants, what a clan really needs. I'm talking good clans here, though. I mean, this is, if you want to be in a level 10 or higher ranked clan, you need to be doing over 50 million a run. However, if you're doing, 10 or 10 to 20 or 20 and beyond, then maybe 20 million to 30 million is a pretty good bracket to be in. I think I set at about 18 million for the longest time, and then everything just finally clicked, and I was able to put together a great team, multiple great teams, and just plow through. And every single week, I gained probably about 5 million until I'm where I'm at now, which is I'm at 60 million on average for my runs, right? And that's across the board in almost every element. I do between 50 and 60 million, sometimes a little more than 60 million. It just depends. And that's with dragons that aren't even all the way powered up yet. Not even close. Not even 6-starred. Look right here. Just the team sitting right in front of you. I've got 2 dragons that are still 5-star. Right? Now, you see my DPS in the back. I've got enhancements, and we're getting those masteries up. Those masteries are huge. That's how we're able to push this kind of content. I actually might even right quick try to go in there and get that last mastery just to show you the kind of damage output that dragons like this can do. So, but what we're here to talk about, right? Let's get into these, my tips for you guys. The tips and tricks for getting massive, massive numbers in Clan Dungeon. So the theory behind it all. So Raid Party 1. We'll start with there. Single target attackers. This is the key. You are fighting one enemy on the top lane. That's it. Just one enemy. So all you need is just dragons that hit one enemy with their drag skills. This is mainly just the DPS. Your support types, that's a little bit different. They can hit more than one if their ability allows for it. But your DPS, and honestly, there's not much selection in this game, really, for what you're going to want. The single target attackers you're going to want It's just two different types of dragons. The Mummigon, which I've got right here. This is the fire type, and over here I have earth and water. I'm still trying to get the dark type. I haven't pulled him yet. But all these guys are single target attackers. Now these are natural 4 stars. You can also get nat 3 stars. You've probably at this point even seen them in the game. But the spirals, these guys right here, they're just little 3-star dragons. They're easy to come by. You can get all their skills right here to max level in no time. They're super easy to level up, turn into a 5-star, make them into an adult dragon, all that stuff. And then once you get to that point, you can, when you 6-star them, they're easy to get mastery levels. So if you haven't watched my guide on ancient ruins or masteries, you might want to watch that to understand what I'm talking about here. But that's what this red number here, well, this yellow number in the red border is. That's the mastery level. And how to make a mastery is you have to take the same, a dragon of the same element in the same starting stars. So the same, like, rarity dragon. So, like my spirals here, he's a 5-star now, but he started as a 3-star. So if I want to get some mastery levels in him, I've got to get another fire 3-star dragon and then feed it into him. Kind of like you would for, like, leveling up and stuff, using them as material. And you use just one of them and some gold and the books that you get from ancient ruins, and you get a mastery level. At first, the masteries don't look that promising, but that last one, the number 10, is huge. Your damage will almost double, depending on the one you get, depending on the dragon as well. DPS, support or whatnot, it'll be a little bit different. But your DPS dragons, you'll see a huge increase. 3-star dragons are so easy to get masteries. So easy. Honestly, these bigger dragons, the 5 stars, they look good, right? On paper, you're like, oh yeah, he's a super rare dragon. That's the one to go for. Honestly, just get these spirals. Get one for each element, and then you're good. If you get the Mummigon is the exact same thing as the spirals, just a little bit better. Just marginally better. Okay, now if you're trying to min-max and you get a Mummigon, yeah, go with the Mummigon. It's going to be a little bit better. But if you don't get a Mummigon, just use the spiral. There's no harm in it. But why? What makes these guys so great, right? That's going to be their skills, their drag skills here. Like I said, target count of 1 right here. And the thing that makes them so good is this ×3 damage. Massive. However, like I said, you got to get one for each element, because the fire type, he only gets this big damage buff when he's fighting an earth type. So when you go into the green dungeon, you use this guy. You can't use any of the other ones, or else they don't get that bonus. Okay, that's what sets these guys apart, is that they're single target attackers, so they already do a lot of damage to one person, but then they get even more damage against the fighting the right element. So those are going to be your targets for your DPS, for your top lane, okay? Your other DPS target. My personal recommendation, I don't ask where that accent or whatever came from, that was weird, but it's Clown Dragon. Clown Dragon is another single target attack dragon. However, the best one is light. Honestly, I use my light in every element. It doesn't matter if I'm fighting dark. It doesn't matter if I'm fighting, any of the earth, water, fire. None of those, any of those, I will always use the light Clown Dragon. For the most part. When you get up there in, like, fighting, level 50 clan dungeon, you're probably going to have to give up a second DPS for another healer, support of something like that, and then just have the one Mummigon or the one spiral. Okay, that's just kind of how it works, unfortunately. But eventually, the boss hits so hard that you just can't afford to have 2 DPS on a team and not another healer or some sort of dragon that gives protection. Okay, but for low level, if you're watching this, you're probably at that point where you can definitely use 2 DPS. I still use 2 DPS, right? And I think I'm fighting I don't think we've broken level 30 yet. We might be 31 or 32 of the clan boss, but that's it. You know, those guys up there in the 90s, yeah, they're the ones that are being stuck to only having one DPS. Okay, but why Clown Dragon, right? What makes him so special? So, like I said, he is a single target attacker. So target count of 1, and he does so much damage, right? All of them, they all do pretty good damage, but light type is just the best. He does more damage. He's got the best passives here, and all that fun stuff. But the kind of the final deciding factor, why not use Spiral and Mummigon, right? You could do that. If you've got the crit rate where you need it, where those dragons, they don't need a dragon with a leadership ability like this. So all ally critical rate up by 24%. So if you come in here and let's see, let's look at his natural crit rate. His natural crit rate right now is 82%. So he's pretty good. I could actually even change his runes up a little bit. He's a little outdated. Let's look at the Mummigon here. He's at 79%. He's critting almost every single time, but I need a leadership ability that's going to put him up to pretty much 100% of the time. I need a crit every time in Clan Dungeon. So having a dragon with a leadership ability that has a crit rate, Clown Dragon's a perfect choice for that. And the only reason these guys are so high is because I'm using, you know, 6-star runes on them to get them the maximum stats that I can. So that's what kind of sets them apart from the other dragons out there, is that leadership ability in tandem with their DPS. I don't know why that did that. Moving on from there, right? What else do you need in your top clan dungeon? You're gonna need a healer, of course. I highly recommend a tank healer for starting out, but you might get to that point where you move beyond that, and you would rather have a dragon that maybe like something like Venezi is a good example, or Dark Totem. When they heal, they give attack buffs to everyone they heal, so that's pretty good. On top of that, they have a resurrect ability, so when a dragon dies, you know, maybe you misclicked or got a timing wrong on a heal and you lost a dragon. They have a resurrect, so that's awesome. But they scale off their attack, so they're a little less tanky and they're a little more prone to dying themselves. So you just gotta kind of weigh the options there. I've got Earth Smart Dragon, so he's my tank, right? But also when he heals, he gives an attack buff, like I was saying. So every time he's healing, he's giving everyone an attack buff, so we're doing more damage. These last 2 slots are almost non-negotiable. Light Alien is amazing. An amazing dragon. This dragon literally is meant for top lane clan dungeon. Every element, you just use the Light Alien every time. Why am I saying this, right? Its abilities. Every time you use its drag skill, you decrease the cooldown of 2 mana cost attackers by 5 seconds. So your healer, right? Make sure your healer's a 2 mana cost healer. You're reducing the cooldown there. So you only need 1 healer, and you're getting more heals out of that 1 healer. So that way you don't need 2 healers, because you're reducing the cooldown timer so you can do it more often. Makes sense, right? And that works for your attacker as well. The Mummigon's cooldown on their drag skill normally is too long to get 2 attacks in one critical, the critical rate or whatever, where you're gonna do more damage, right, on the dragon, where they're vulnerable. So as soon as it pops up that you can do more damage, bonus damage time, use the Mummigon skill, their attack skill or drag skill, right, and then pop the Alien Dragon to reduce the cooldown timer on your Mummigon. And so when the boss has about 2 seconds left on the bonus damage time, you actually get to use his skill a second time. That's why you can use dragons like him. You only need 1 DPS, because you're actually getting double the amount of attacks because of Light Alien. That's what makes Light Alien so amazing in this. But that's literally, I feel like an infomercial, but that's not all. Every set duration, allies spend one less mana for using drag skills. Not just 2 mana cost dragons, okay? So his timer reduction only works on 2 mana cost. However, this works on everything, which makes using the clown dragons more viable. Pop their attack skill during the vulnerable state, only during the vulnerable state, and try to time it so that way it's at the same time as this skill. So that 3 mana cost skill goes down to a 2 mana cost skill. And that just this works great with everything. Your healer only costing 1 mana to heal. That's super awesome. All right, and just the last thing on the drag skill here, you have a 50% chance to gain mana back, right? So extra mana is always nice. It's not something that you should rely upon, but it's cool when it happens. And this last passive is actually going to kind of bleed over into our next dragon as well, but we'll go ahead and cover it. Every set duration, 90% chance to decrease the attack of enemies at the rear. It says at the rear, but like I said earlier, you're fighting one boss, right? On the top lane, you're only fighting one guy, so it's guaranteed to hit him every time. Reducing his attack doesn't help just the top lane, it helps the bottom lane as well. You know, when the boss does that laser attack and hits every single dragon that you're using, top lane and bottom lane? Imagine reducing the boss's attack times 3, and he's hardly hitting at all anymore, right? He's doing almost no damage with that attack now. That's so much better. So that's what we're going to jump over here into the Fire Gaudium. Fire Gaudium is the other pretty much mandatory dragon here. The Mummigon or Spiral, the Light Alien, and then the Fire Gaudium. These are your 3 that you need to get, and you need to use them, okay? The healer can really be any kind of healer. That's really open. More personal preference there, which one you'd like more, which one you think works better. And you can choose either another DPS with a good leadership ability, or if you don't need that leadership ability, if your crit rate's already good, then maybe you could drop the Clown Dragon and go for another support, you know, a tank or something like that. But this guy right here, so what is he doing for you? His drag skill. When he gets a critical hit, you get double mana. So, and it's a 2 mana cost skill. So you're reducing the timer with Alien, so you get to use this skill more often. As well as Alien's skill makes it a 1 mana cost every so often. You just keep spamming this ability every time it's off cooldown. Just hit it again. And just keep your mana flowing super fast. Doubling mana. It says for only 9 seconds, but when you're popping this skill a whole bunch because you're reducing the cooldown timer on it, it makes it a whole lot better. And then also beyond that is you get to do a little extra damage and 90% chance to decrease or chance to delete 2 beneficial effects on the target. So sometimes bosses, you know, they get buffs on themselves. You're pretty much pulling all the buffs off, so they never get any benefits. Alright, so after that, this is that other one I was talking about right here. Every set duration, decrease attack of enemies at the rear for 30 seconds. You're fighting one boss. You're fighting one guy. This will always go to him. That's 2 damage decrease effects you're putting on this boss to save your team. That whole not wanting an extra second healer, the reason you don't need a second healer is because of these guys. Because your Alien and your Fire Gaudium, they're making the boss do almost no damage now. So I wouldn't say no damage, but they're reducing its damage considerably, which makes the need for a healer to be working overtime a lot less. And then the last passive here, which is another great reason to have him. Almost every skill is amazing for this fight. Is so again, it says highest HP, but again, you're only fighting one person, so it's always going to hit the boss. 80% chance to affect target with 2 defense decrease effects for 15 seconds. 2 of them. So all of your DPS dragons and even your other ones just doing their basic attacks are always going to be doing more damage. So being able to put 2 defense decrease effects, so you're doubling your damage of your dragons that are getting attack buffs already from like your healers and such. So that's what makes these two guys a must-have. You have to run these two, okay? Your single target attackers could either be Mummygon or the spirals. Like I said, spirals are super easy to get. If you're watching this video, I guarantee it, you've pulled one already if you've played this game, okay? If you haven't gotten one element by your second summon, you just got a little bit of bad luck. You're going to get it in like no time. Spirals are a dime a dozen, okay? Pretty much any 3-star dragons. But that's top lane. I also recommend manualing top lane. I know a lot of people, they don't really like to manual in this game a lot. They prefer to auto. But I really recommend manualing Clan Dungeon just on the top lane, because every time he goes into that vulnerable state, you need to make sure that you pop your Mummygon or your Spiral, and then immediately after, when you've got your cooldowns going, pop your Alien Dragon, reduce his cooldown by 5 seconds, and then at the very end of the vulnerable state, his timer will be up, and you can do it again. You can attack 2 times with him, but only if you're manualing and you really time those fights out, okay? I only ever attack with the drag skills of my 2 DPS during vulnerable state. I don't use their skills at all any other time, okay? And also, I recommend Kathos just for that crit rate up, which means, you know, you're less dependent upon a leader that has crit rate up, okay? So then you could, like I said, you could use a Spine and a Mummygon, or a Spiral and a Mummygon, sorry. Which Spine is going to bring us into Raid Party 2. So everything you learned about Raid Party 1 almost doesn't apply to Raid Party 2. It is super different. It's a very different fight down here, okay? You're not fighting one enemy down here. You're fighting 7. You're fighting 7 mini-bosses at one time that you can't defeat, okay? I mean, you could clear the whole level, right? But you can't, like, you know, clear 1, clear 2, and, you know, work your way down. You're always fighting 7 at one time. So let's start with DPS. What's the ideal DPS for this? You're going to want dragons that have massive targets for their drag skills. Target count of 7. So dragons like this right here, this is Dark Bane. Dark Bane, as well as the mini dragons. These guys right here, they're exactly the same. Honestly, there are almost no real difference. It's just use what you got. Whichever one of these two you have, use those, okay? They're going to do the same. I'm going to go in depth of what makes them so good. But again, a big key part here is that target count of 7. There are other options. I don't know if I have any in my inventory right now, unfortunately, to show. Oh, I do. Okay, right here. Spine. I'm not using this one because I have different options. But his drag skill also is a high target count. So he's really doing a lot of damage. The reason I don't like him, though, is because his mana cost is 3. And it's a little harder to build a team for. You can do it. Trust me, you can do it. I'll even give a little example of a team you can do with 3 mana cost. But I prefer 2 mana cost dragons. Unfortunately, those are the 5 stars. Spine over there, he's a nat 3. So like I said, you can get him all the time, super easy. All the different elements for him, no big deal, okay? Very easy to get max level, 6-star, mastery level 10, get that super bonus to do crazy damage. As you can see, my Dark Bane over here, I don't have 1 mastery on this guy yet. Not 1 mastery. Spine, if I had started with him, oh yeah, he would have mastery 10 a long time ago. Unfortunately, I didn't know these tricks early enough on in my game that I kind of missed out, and I started getting all these other dragons that do the same thing, just for less mana. Alright, so let's look at this guy, what I'm talking about here. So again, 2 mana cost is more ideal. So that way you're popping off these skills more often than waiting for a 3 mana cost. 3 mana cost, not only is it taking more mana, it also takes a longer time the cooldown timers are longer on 3 mana cost skills. So you got to weigh the option. I'd rather have a 2 mana cost that I can spam over and over. Okay. But drag skills. Why Darkbane and why Mini, right? So not only are they hitting 7 times, you're fighting 7 enemies. Makes sense, right? Kind of almost like the game developers planned for you to use this dragon for this. Damage is increased by 10% for each 1 targeted enemies. These drag skills scale. They do more damage for the more targets you have them fight. The more targets they hit with these skills. You hit all 7 enemies and you get 70% damage increase. That's huge. That is huge. Mini is the same way. I think they just kind of have they do the same thing. It's just in different locations on their skills of where it's worded. And then, so not only are you getting 70% when you're hitting 70 enemies, right? Increase the final damage by 100%. So you're doubling your damage when you target at least 6 enemies with his drag skill. You're fighting 7 enemies, you're always going to get at least 6. Sometimes, if the computer is autoing, it might miss 1, but you're always going to get at least 6, okay? So you're always going to be getting that double damage with these guys. Amazing dragons. To make up for the fact, so if you look here, there's only 3 elements. You're missing the water type and the light type. You know what there's a water and a light type of? Mini dragon. Mini dragon will make up for the other ones. And same, then the opposite works for mini dragons. If you have a bunch of mini dragons, get the dark banes that you don't have the slots for. Also, just get all the spines. Like I said, spine works. It works just like these guys. You just got to build your team a little bit different to work with that 3 mana cost skill. There's a way to do it, and I'll show you how to do it, okay? But that was my main point, is explaining why these dragons in particular. It's because of these buffs that they get. When they hit more enemies, they do way more damage. So you're thinking, well, you know, I've got this 5. They could work. They could. But I think these guys are just a little bit better. Are there other options? Sure. Also, I just want to throw out their other passives here. Increase crit rate up, so that just makes your runing a little bit easier. Also, if you're not using Kathos with your bottom lane because you're manualing top team, you don't get his little extra crit rate buff. So it's nice having just a free crit rate buff built in. Also, they have a passive where they hit 6 enemies at once. So they're hitting all those enemies. Each one is taking damage, but it all goes to the same health bar. So that's what makes it so nice, is you're hitting 6 dragons that are all sharing 1 health. So pretty great stuff here with these guys. I do have one honorable mention, and it's dragons I personally am also building for just this reason. Because these guys are hard to get. I have 1 Darkbane and I have 2 minis. I have the water one and the light one. So I'm missing some stuff, right? I'm missing the dark type and maybe that's it. Maybe it's just the dark type and earth. These guys right here. Oh, did not mean to switch that out, but it's okay. I'll switch it back. Hedge bats. Hedge bats are 4-star dragons. So you have the spines, which are 3 stars, which are super easy to get, super easy to level. Great options for beginner players. If you've been playing a little bit longer and you've got a better selection of dragons, maybe you could upgrade to something else. Hedge bats are a great option. There are only 4-star dragons, so they're a little bit easier to get than the 5 stars, and are also a little bit easier to get mastery levels for. But why these guys, right? Again, they're 2 mana cost skills here, but it's these the drag skills. So your target count of 5, so a little bit less, right? They get good damage bonuses here, right? So same thing, the passive here, it's hitting 5 and it's doing a lot of damage to this one is to light damage. It gets bonus damages to light. But unlike the spines that or the mummygons and the spirals, they only get their bonus against the right element, right? These guys are kind of similar in the same way. They have one passive that does better against the right element. Not mandatory. If this is all you've got, use these. I could literally use this dark type as one of my DPSs in every single fight. Why is that? The very last skill here is Mace of Destruction, does 2.5 bonus damage to bosses. All those heads down there count as a boss. Okay? They count as a boss. So that 3 times damage I pointed out at the top with the Mummygons and the spirals, this guy does the same thing pretty much, but to multiple enemies. Instead of a single target attacker, he's the AoE version of those same dragons. He is the AoE version of the Mummigon, just right here. Except you don't have to use it against the right element to get that massive bonus. So the other guys, you have to use it against the right element to get the right bonus. This guy is, you could literally use him on any team. The only the deciding factor kind of here is this passive, where on each one, as you can see, they all get to do bonus damage against the right element for that one passive. The main thing here is their drag skill, though. Straight up, being honest, the main thing is their drag skill. Could you have one for each element? Heck yeah, you could. Just more min-maxing, right? Just each and every one a little bit stronger. Next is, I know I'm using Varus here as my leader. That's why I'm using Varus. That's also because I don't have another option. I had other options, but I didn't really see their benefit at the time, and I deleted them. Well, I used them as fodder for other stuff, and I got rid of them. But I'm not gonna we're not gonna look at any of his other skills here. I just want to go into his leadership ability. Increase allies' attack by 48% when fighting a boss. Yes, he's a limited dragon. I will show you the other option. Your leadership ability for bottom team, you want this, is a dragon that has this leadership ability. Is all allies get a bonus to attack or whatever, or crit damage when fighting a boss. When fighting a boss. Okay? And also, he has a 3 mana cost drag skill, which I kind of dislike. Let's jump over here into the book, because I don't have one right off the bat that I can show you. There's one for every element. Look at that leadership ability. That doesn't change for all these elements. Increase allies' attack by 43%. You're 5% less. Still huge. A huge, huge buff when fighting a boss. If you can't get, a Varus, which most people can't, get one of these guys. Get any of them. If you can only get one, use that one in every fight and make him your leader on that bottom team. But why on bottom team, right? Because of his drag skill. He is another huge AoE target attacker. He's pretty much the same as your other guys in there. The mini dragons, the dark banes, the hedgebat, kind of like the hedgebat, and then mainly the spine also. When 6 or more enemies are targeted, power is increased by 100%. Double damage when you hit 6 or more enemies. I don't know why it says or more, because you can only hit 6, but there's 7 targets. So you're guaranteed to hit 6 every single time. After using it, decrease Earth allies drag skill mana cost by 1 for 10 seconds. That is awesome if you have the right element to use it with. So if you're using this guy and say the Earth mini dragon, the Earth spine, or the Earth hedgebat, then here you go. This is and he's great for that. But like I said, you don't have to use. If you only have him, you can use him on every element. This big attack here, this doesn't have anything to do with element bonus. Okay, this leadership doesn't have anything to do with element bonus, but it has everything to do with your allies. Okay, the other stuff is also great things, but it was mainly just I really wanted to point out that these other passes are great too. But again, this one less so. You're not going to actually see the benefit of this, but Create a barrier. Barriers are always nice, right? But another massive AoE drag seal. That's 2 mana cost, and the best leadership ability in the game for bottom clan dungeon. Okay. But let's jump back over here into this fight. Oh, let me collect these right quick. I'm looking for Dark Arcana pieces. Nope, no luck. So moving on from there, so we covered DPS, we covered our leadership. Let me go back to this. So fire type is the easiest to talk about. So we covered leadership, we covered DPS, and that other leadership is also a secondary DPS. So you're running 2 DPS on bottom team. If you're running a team of 2 mana cost dragons, then you need to have a support type that gives you mana regen. You're using 2 DPS here and one healer to keep this whole team up. You need mana regen like nobody's business. The only stuff that's going to get you there is going to be your Cupids and your Lamgons. Cupid right here, this where is it? The passive. If an ally uses a drag skill with mana cost 2, mana recovery rate is double for 7 seconds. 7 seconds might not seem like a lot, but when your entire team uses 2 mana costs, the Mellow Dragon, like I said, Mellow Dragon is actually kind of a better option than Varus because he's a 2 mana cost dragon as opposed to mine, which is a 3. So that's the trade-off. So your mana is always doubled. You will always have this supercharged mana ability when you're using a Cupid or the Lamgon. You got to get the ones with the right elements though, because not all of them. I think like maybe Dark and Lights are for 3 mana cost dragons. Okay, so which brings me into that other point of, well, I don't want to use, or I'm using Spine, right? I have to use the Spine because it's the only multi-attacker I've got. Well, you can use the Loris Dragon. Loris or the Cupid and Lamgons that trigger when you use a 3 mana cost drag skill. They double the mana regeneration when you use those skills. Loris is basically just a little bit better version of those guys. If an ally uses a drag skill of 3 mana cost, it's doubled for 10 seconds. Also, increase all of your allies' attack by 10 seconds. That's an attack buff. Attack buffs are huge. That's why I'm saying those healers, you want your healers to give attack buffs on everything they heal. The stuff that needs a lot of healing is usually the attackers in the back. They require more healing than any of the other guys, which is crazy that they require more healing than a tank that's getting hit constantly. But giving those attack buffs to those guys in the back is super nice. So having another option for having an attack buff is great. Also, every set duration decrease cooldown of allies' drag skill whose mana cost is 3 by 10% for 20 seconds. Remember Alien at the beginning of the video that I talked about? This is the same thing as Alien, but for 3 mana cost attackers. So if you're using a 2 DPS in the back that are 3 mana cost, this is probably going to be your go-to. It is a 5-star, so if you can't get one, the other option is the Lamgon or Cupid if you've got those instead that are for the 3 mana cost. Okay. All right. Moving on from there, I am not using a bunch of 3 mana cost attackers though, which is why I'm using the other guy. Where'd it go? Him. Light Pharaoh. He's a great option. I know I'm a little less enthused about this guy, but he gives the attack increase effect to all allies at the rear, just every so often, right? So every 20 seconds, that's more attack buffs going on at enemies at the rear. He's a great option. If you get a Light Pharaoh, you can use him on every single dungeon pretty much. Just throw him up front. He's also a little mini mana battery. Every 8 seconds, you gain 1 mana. So that's pretty nice. So a little mana battery and an attack buff guy. He's an easy option to replace, okay, with the other guys, the other mana batteries I was talking about. Your top, well, not I wouldn't say top, but your other option is another support type, a tank preferably, because you're going to want them up front. You could have a healer option up front as well as a tank, but I really recommend getting a Frosty. Why do I recommend getting a Frosty? So he's the exact same thing as Pharaoh, except he's the 5-star version of Pharaoh. So he's doing the same thing and giving the attack increase effect to 2 allies, right? So 2 attack increases, but he just does it for whoever has the highest attack. They don't have to be the guys in the back. It can be the guys in the middle, wherever. As long as they have the highest attack, they get the buff. Okay? As well as you gain the free mana. It's every 15 seconds instead of every 8 seconds, but that's still a free point of mana that you're getting off of this guy. So that's why I kind of run both of these, is because I don't have a dedicated mana battery like the Cupids or the Loris or anything like that that's giving me the double mana regen. So I kind of feel obligated to run both of these guys to give me 2 small options for getting more mana. But why Loris, right? Yeah, they're cool, but I'm taking 2 dragons to do what 1 dragon could do of someone else. I just really feel obligated to play Loris because of its last passive. While you're alive, damage caused by all attacks from attack type allies is increased by 15%. This is a second leadership ability. So you've got your first leadership ability, the 43% attack percentage increase, right, to all your allies from your Mellow Dragon. This is a second leadership ability, basically, that stacks. It's only 15%, but it stacks on top of that 58%. Holy crap. That's huge. And it's as a passive, not a leadership ability, so you get both. I don't think I'll ever pull Frosty off of my team, honestly, just because of that. They both have a drag skill that when you use it, they get to put up a barrier around 3 allies. So if you don't get your heal off, then that's just a free barrier that you can get. However, using 2 support types like this, usually they're on auto battle, and they use their skills a little more often than I would like. However, it's still pretty effective. Okay? Sorry if this is a lot of information. You may have to watch this video a couple times. I know it can be a little confusing. But we got our DPS here in the back that's targeting multiple enemies, up to 6 or 7, right? With a leadership ability that's getting the 43% attack, or 48% in my case, when fighting a boss. We've got our dragons, our support dragons, that are giving mana regeneration. Mana regeneration is super important. I love Frosty because of that last passive where you get basically an extra leadership ability. I think he's super amazing. You could drop the other Pharaoh, or like the light Pharaoh, and add in a Mummigon, or not a Mummigon, a Cupid or a Lambgon, any of those double mana regeneration. A Loris, if you're using 2-3 mana costs. Like I said, I recommend using 2 mana cost attacks. If you're early on and Spine is all you got, then you got to make do with what you have. Okay? Lastly, for your healer. This is why I recommend having 2 support types that double as tanks, because then you can have a healer that scales off of something that's not defense percentage or something like that. I love Venezi. Venezi is a 4-star dragon, so super easy to get. Light type. There is a dark type, but light type. Why do I say light type? Because every time it heals 3 allies. Every time it heals those, it gives them an attack buff. So you're always having attack buffs on all of your dragons, pretty much. They're always going to be all just jacked up, roid raged out, okay? All doing so much more damage. On top of that, he has a resurrect ability. When an ally dies, he brings them back up. That's so important. What other people like to play? are harder to get dragons. Dark Totem is an example. People love Dark Totem. I've never pulled one. I've been playing this game for over a year. I've never gotten one. So I went with the dragon that I pull at least one a month of. I pull at least one Venezia a month. Getting enhancement level 6 was super easy on this guy. Mastery will be a little bit harder because he is a light type. Getting light types is a little bit more rare than others. But that's mainly because all mine went into my my clown dragon here. All my mastery fodder did. So that's why it's taking him a little bit longer to get some masteries. But he is a great alternative. Ultimately, though, any healer will do. Any healer will do. I just recommend getting one that has a resurrect ability. I think you can never go wrong with having a resurrect ability. Teddy Dragon is an option that people will run for it. Enix Dragon, Water Enix, and I think one of the other Enixes, they have a resurrect ability. Those are all good options. If you don't want resurrect, there are other things. Fire Totem. Fire Totem's a lot easier to get than Dark Totem. If you pull him, he's got a whole bunch of buffs. Instead of healing for 3, he heals 4 allies and gives them the attack buff when he heals them. So you're giving almost your entire team an attack buff when you heal with him, which makes using these two guys a lot more, unnecessary. I could even now probably drop the Light Pharaoh. I'm getting 2 mana buffs or 2 attack buffs off of this guy, and my healer is also putting out attack buffs. You can only have max of 3 at one time, so that kind of covers me. I could drop him and add in probably the Fire Cupid that I had earlier, so doubling my mana regeneration when 4 out of 5 of my dragons are using their drag skills. So I will never run out of mana on this team if I was to do that. My Fire Cupid isn't quite leveled up high enough yet to justify making that switch, which is why I haven't. I do have an honorable mention, though, of another option instead of the Cupid I could use, and that is Bagma. Right now I've got the Fire Bagma. There are other ones. They all do different things, but what makes this guy so great here is, remember earlier I was talking about Loris, right? Was basically the 3 mana cost version of I'm blanking on the name now. Light Alien. Bagma is very similar to that. He's a 5-star version of Light Alien. I think Light Alien has just a little bit better skill set for the mana recharge, the reduced timer, the reduced mana cost. So he's got all 3 of those going for him, whereas Bagma is a little bit more limited, but still pretty good. So its drag skill is mainly the second part. In addition, decreased cooldown of other allies' drag skill whose mana cost is 2 by 30% for 12 seconds. So all your 2 mana cost dragons, you're reducing the cooldown timers. That's great. For 12 seconds. So it's not like it's one ally gets the benefit and then they all jump back up. No. If you can spam a whole bunch in that time, do it. Okay? Or I guess, yeah, it'll reduce all of them. So you want to get those benefits in while you can. Defense decrease is always nice. Target count of 3, so you're going to get the benefit on them. They all share 1 health, like I said. So that's pretty nice. Again, this one is increase all allies' defense by 15 seconds. There's nothing wrong with that. A nice little buff. Also, 50% chance to gain up to 3 mana. So every time this goes off, you can reduce the cooldown to every 22 seconds. But you have a chance to get 3 mana for that. That's big stuff there. And then lastly, its last passive here. If any of your dragons that have a 2 mana cost skill use their ability, you instantly recharge. What is it? This one. This ability instantly goes off again. So you're just putting more and more defense decrease effects on the boss every time you use your abilities that are 2 mana cost. So you'll pretty much always have 3 defense decrease effects on the enemy at one time if you're using Fire Bagma. So again, it's just another version of Loris. It's another version of well, I say it's like that. You don't get the double mana regeneration, but you get the you get the 3 mana every so often. So it's just another version of Light Alien, pretty much. That's the closest comparison I can make for you. So Fire Bagma is another great option. Honestly, I might be working on Fire Bagma next to replace my Light Pharaoh. But I also really want to get a Mellow Dragon to pop in here. I love my Varus. He is a beast. He is 6'10". That's max, right? 6 enhancements, Mastery 10. That's as high as they go. He does a lot of damage. Eventually, he will get replaced, especially when I'm fighting a water dungeon. When fighting a water dungeon, even though he's super jacked up, he still has that debuff on him because he's in the wrong element. I would at least like to find a replacement, an Earth-type replacement for at least that dungeon for him. So Mellow Dragon, I'm looking for an Earth-type, maybe one day. It's kind of funny because I had one and I got rid of it, like a dodo. But yeah, so now that I've really talked it up, I've explained it all, I've broken it down for you. Let's see this in action. Again, I want to point out I've got 2 dragons here that are both just 5-star level 50s. And then I've got these other dragons that, one, my Darkbane, he isn't all the way skilled up. He's missing, I think, 2 skill points. And not all of them have enhancements or masteries or anything like that. So some of them are pretty bare bones. But we'll see what happens. And also I want to see if I can get this last mastery just before I do this practice run. Alright, so I'm back. It did cost me a little bit of diamonds. I just couldn't make up that last little bit of gold that I needed. So I just bought some gold with diamonds. Normally I don't condone that. But for this video, I went ahead and made that sacrifice. Even though a brand new dragon comes out tonight that, I really want. But it's all good. I'll get the 10,000 before it goes away. So it's all good. We will jump into this. So we are manualing top lane like I recommended, right? So let's see what kind of damage we can do here. This is the Earth one. Usually this one people do a little bit better on because Fire Dragons DPS types are a little easier to come across. Let's turn that auto battle off. And boom. So as soon as we start, we're gonna just start laying in with the Fire Gaudium Dragon. Get that double mana regeneration going as quickly as possible. Alright, see now look at all of our dragons. Look how low those drag skills costs are. Go ahead and pop that. Oh, I could have waited a half a second. So pop that Mummy Gone immediately. We'll pop that guy right there. And see if we can get a good heal off before we do this. Alright, pop that heal. And then, boom, we'll pop the Alien Dragon. Instantly reduces the cooldowns. And then right before the timer runs out, you pop them again. That's 3 DPS because we're running 2 DPS dragons in one go right there. So, huge damage. I definitely can't recommend enough. Spamming the healer here. Spamming the cooldown reduction. So boom, look, all of our cooldowns are almost all set again, and we're still not even to that point where we're at that part in the fight again. Popping Fire Gaudium, getting that double mana regeneration going. The idea is to never run out of mana, okay? Especially when all your skills cost only 1. And I'm gonna start holding on to Alien. I don't want to pop him yet because we might be getting close to another round of the critical state, right? So I don't want to miss out on that. I know I'm wasting mana here too. So go ahead and pop that. And boom, here we go again. Alright, so pop Lemmigon here. Wait for that mana reduction maybe. There we go. So now that only costs 2 mana. We'll pop the heal. And then we'll pop that cooldown timer reduction. So we got 3 seconds on this, and then we can pop it again. We've got the mana for it, and boom. So again, every time trying to get those 3 hits in. Once you get further down in the fight, it might not go so well. The longer the fight drags on. Okay. Nope, I'm falling down on my job. Not spamming this attack here. All right, let's go ahead and pop this. We'll reduce that cooldown timer, and then we'll be good to go for the next round of attacks. And he will be off a cooldown before the next round comes around, so we're good. All right, pop Mummy Gun, or not Mummy Gun. We'll pop Fire Gaudium. Remember, we're trying to get the look at all the debuffs on him. We got the attack down, we got the 3 defense down, so we're doing lots and lots of bonus damage. All right, let's get that heal off, and we're in vulnerable state. Let's pop all these guys here, and then boom, got those cooldown reductions. Pop Fire Gaudium again. Look at that big damage that time. And then we'll be able to get that second Mummy Gun hit in. And you can see our team starting to kind of drag a little bit more. So definitely important to keep those heals very, very constant. You almost want to pop it every single time it's up. So look, my stuff's all on cooldown, like almost all the time, because I'm spamming the skills so rapidly. And you saw I've had multiple times where my mana was completely full. So unfortunately, I think my weakest link here is my my healer, which is kind of dumb that he's the guy that takes the most damage. Need that heal. Alright, come on. Here we go. Right? Should be entering that point. Boom. So wait and see if we can get lucky and get some, the reduction, the cost reduction. Alright. There we go. Alright, we'll start popping all the rest of these. That and that. We'll get that heal off, and then boom, Mummy Gun. Again, we got all 3 hits in there. Now we did have to wait a little bit on the Clown Dragon, but you know it worked out. We got 30 seconds in this fight left. I should have popped Kathos' ability with the attack buff before we got to this point. That was my bad. I'm usually so into the fight that I kind of forget. That heal, keep our Clown Dragon in this fight as long as possible. And we're about to get to that point where everyone's going to start dropping off very quickly. Let's go ahead and pop Kathos. We've got 17 seconds left. There goes our healer. Alright, Alien's about to drop. We're just waiting for that vulnerable state. Should be right. There it is. So one last round of all-out attacks from everybody. We won't get that last cooldown timer reduction for Mummy Gun, sadly. But it's okay. Look at those big numbers there. 67 million. I actually think that might be my my highest score yet. Also, probably because I got Mummy Gun. I got him the Mastery 10. Before this, I think I was hitting about 61, 62 million. So just getting that one little fucking, oh, don't say that, cut, sorry, cussed, had to cut that out. It's YouTube, they take money away if you cuss. But yeah, I got that one little buff there, that one last mastery, and my damage jumped about 6 million because of one mastery level. That's why it's important to do your masteries, guys. I was saying before, super important to do your masteries, especially on dragons that are easy to get masteries for. Those 3 stars, so easy to get mastery level 10. So easy. 4 stars, a little bit harder, but very manageable. It's a little bit slower, but doable. 5 stars is hard. I'm going to be honest. I've got, I think, 1 dragon mastery level 10. That's a 5-star, and that's Varus. That's just because he was kind of my favorite dragon at the time. He's still one of my favorites, but his usefulness is a little bit more limited than what I was originally hoping for. Mainly that 3 mana cost drag skill really hurts. But yeah, so this is the fruits of your labors, right? Big numbers like this. Is this the best in the game? No. There are the top 10 players in the game. They're doing 200 million on these guys. But again, I'm using dragons that, one, Dark Bane doesn't even have all of its skills yet leveled up. Two, he has no enhancements. He has no masteries. They're using two teams of 5 dragons, all 610. So level 6 enhancements, level 10 masteries. Yeah. Remember, I got 1 mastery level and I jumped 6 million points. Imagine if I had all those masteries on all those dragons. Yeah, I think I could probably do 200 million with the team I have if I had all the masteries and skill ups on them. Heck yeah, I do. So that just takes time, though. Those people have been a lot more dedicated to the game than even I have, and I run a YouTube channel. That should tell you something. I hope you guys did enjoy this. If you have any questions about what I discussed here, put it in the comment section below. Okay, I'm usually really good about getting on top of my messages at least once a day and trying to reply to everybody that has messaged me on YouTube or commented on my videos. Okay, so if anything about this confused you, definitely say so. Also, if you have any pointers for me, if say I missed something, please put it in the comments. I would love to read it, and all the other viewers that are trying to get better at Clan Dungeon would also greatly appreciate that. Okay? But with that, we'll see you next time.